What I'm now going to do is catch some skimmers and hopefully maybe even a few bream on a cage feeder, a traditional cage feeder setup with an 18-inch hook length. Bait-wise, because we're on a commercial fishery and the fish see a lot of pellets and boilies, I'm going to use the betaine green, which is a pellety betaine mix. Simply going to mix that, one bag. What we'll do, tip some water in, obviously give it a stir, and then we'll leave that for 10 minutes or so to let it absorb the water, and then we'll probably just need to top it up a little bit and give it another stir. That forms the base of my cage feeder mix. What I'm also going to put in, as I mentioned, this gets heavily fished for carp, so the bream also like pellets. So these are just the peg number 1 2mm carp pellets. And they're going to form part of the mix. I'll probably put a good 1.5 handfuls of that in with the ground bait. What we need to do, so the pellets don't absorb the water we'll put in the ground bait, give those a good soak in, completely cover them, give it a stir around. What's that, 5 seconds? That's more than enough. And then just drain that water off. I won't put them in the ground bait now until we've finished the ground bait. Soon as we've come back to the ground bait in 10 minutes or so, then we'll add some pellets to it. We can vary the amount of those depending on the response we get. What I'm also going to do is a little bit of the F1 soak in the ground bait. Just give it that extra little boost. Certainly doesn't do any harm. Give that a good stir in. We're at the peg now. The pellets and the ground bait have all settled. They're now right. So rather than mix it all together at the start, all I do, a couple of handfuls of ground bait and probably 1 handful of pellets. Give that a good stir round. And that's my starting mix now. If we're catching a load of fish and there's obviously a big shoal of bream and skimmers there, I'll up the quantity of pellets that I put in the ground bait so there's more bait there to hold them. Do that at the start and there isn't a lot of fish there. You risk overfeeding the fish that are there and not catching a lot. So safety first. If we start catching a load, then I'll up the quantity of pellets that we're putting in the ground bait. And so what I'm going to do, I'm not going to put a hook bait on to start with. I'm just going to have 2 or 3 quick casts just to get a bit of bait on the bottom, because we all know what bream are like. They like a bed of bait. Not going very far out, that's only about 16 metres, which is the line that most people on here would pole fish for the skimmers. So that's the kind of distance that they're associated with feeding at. So same again, no rush, we're not in a hurry, nice and steady. I'm clipped up, so I know we're hitting the same spot every time. Gentle cast, hit the clip and down. Now, next cast, I'll bait up and we'll obviously leave it in and see what we can catch. So, starting point is a worm. A little worm on the hook. Snip him off just to release some more scent and juices. Load the feeder up as before. Line myself up with that empty peg opposite so I know I'm going the same spot. I'm clipped up so I know I'm going down the same hole. And now we'll see what happens. Second chuck with our combination of Mayhem Green and 2mm carp pellets. I think we've got our intended quarry. Feels like a very good skimmer. I'm hoping it's not a small carp. So we'll see. There we go, it's a proper bream. Who's bothered about little skimmers, eh? Cracking bream, about £4. So there we go, the intended quarry. Cracking fish, probably £3.5. Let's pop him back and get his mate.